Hey folks, so I am about to go see The Woman King, the much anticipated film that I have been waiting to see for a long time. And I recently just wrote this blog post about things that have been on my mind, ideas and thoughts that have been percolating about colorism amongst Hollywood audiences. And so oftentimes we talk about colorism in Hollywood from the perspective of movie makers, filmmakers, producers, the studios and things like that. So looking at the gatekeepers and people in the industry. And in this video, in this blog post that I wrote, I want to focus on colorism amongst the fan base, colorism amongst the masses of moviegoers around the world. And I'm going to use 3 films to do that. Yes, The Woman King, but also Black Panther and The Little Mermaid. So as I mentioned, I wrote a blog post, and so I'm really going to primarily read from the blog post because I want this video to be quick, simple, and easy so that I could just get it out for you all without a lot of editing. So one, I want to start with The Little Mermaid and how, because a Black actress, Halle Bailey, is playing Ariel in The Little Mermaid, we see so much racism coming out of the woodworks, right? However, despite this very ugly and violent racism that Halle Bailey is experiencing as a result of this film and her role in the film, she is still simultaneously benefiting from colorism, okay? Lighter-skinned actresses are far more likely to be cast in movies like this, in roles like this, than darker-skinned actresses. Lighter-skinned people in general are far more likely to be positioned as barrier breakers, and they are often more likely to be positioned as the first to cross the so-called color line. We saw this in the sphere of politics with Barack Obama and Kamala Harris, for example. And as radical as it might seem to some people that any non-white person would play Ariel or play in this type of film, we are much, much farther away from seeing a dark-skinned Black girl play a role like this one or be featured in a movie like this one, especially if she also has full features and afro hair. Additionally, our collective compassion and our willingness to rally around Halle Bailey and her new film is also facilitated by colorism. Dark-skinned Black women rarely get the same level of support from our own people and supposed allies, right? When we also face racism and colorism, the support just isn't there for us the way it is for our light-skinned siblings and counterparts. I've said before that because of biases and stereotypes based in colorism, light-skinned people are more likely to garner empathy, sympathy, support, and sponsorship from others. I can definitely see this playing out here for people who are consciously colorist and for the many more of movie watchers who are unconsciously and subconsciously impacted by colorism. I'm happy, very, very happy about this expansion of representation in mainstream media. And I feel and understand how much farther we still have to go in order for all Black girls to feel seen and valued in media, entertainment, and in society in general. I contrast this with the more reticent support for The Woman King. And I contrast that with the celebration of a similar war movie, Black Panther. Because let's make no mistake about it, both of these are war films. Both of them involve fighting for a cause. Both of them involve battles, bloodshed, violence. There are significant differences between The Woman King and Black Panther that contribute to the differences in receptions of both. The budget is probably one of the biggest differences, and related to budget is the overall industry support, the number of A-list actors, the marketing, and also having Black Panther positioned in a larger franchise like the Marvel Universe or the Avengers storyline. But using the lens of colorism, I see an even more nuanced difference. Black Panther has been celebrated for representation of dark-skinned Black women. However, the film was not centered on a majority dark-skinned Black woman cast, and it wasn't their storyline. Yes, in Black Panther, we see more representation for dark-skinned Black women. However, it's not really their story. They are not the protagonists. It wasn't all dark-skinned Black women all the time. The titular character was a man. A Black man and Black men were centered in Black Panther. A Black man was positioned as the hero and protagonist of that story. The Woman King tells the story of dark-skinned Black women. In this film, it's all dark-skinned Black women all the time. Dark-skinned Black women are the heroes, the protagonists, the nominal character. This is the intersectionality of gender. Society has always found it easier to accept and been more willing to accept dark-skinned men than dark-skinned women. Supporting the Woman King is one small, practical way to do something about colorism in the media and inadvertently in society. For all the many people who continuously ask me what to do about colorism, go see The Woman King in theaters. This is where the rubber meets the road, folks. This is your opportunity not to just talk that talk, but to also walk that walk. This is a relatively low stakes way to do some work on colorism. If you're hesitant to go see a movie solely to support dark-skinned actresses, it's questionable whether you'll be able to stand against colorism in moments when the stakes are even higher and when there's even more risk and more effort involved. Even if you end up hating the movie, dark-skinned Black women are worth the gamble. How many mediocre, cringeworthy, and downright terrible films and TV shows have you seen? How often have you taken a chance on films starring Black men? How often have you taken a chance on films or shows starring white or light-skinned people? Watching a film or show is always a gamble as to whether or not you'll like it. So why is there so much resistance to taking that same gamble on a film featuring multiple dark-skinned Black women in leading roles? How many people saw Black Panther just to show support for a Black story? How many people will go see The Little Mermaid just to support Halle Bailey and to help resist racism? And how many people will go see The Woman King just to support dark-skinned Black actresses and resist racism and colorism?